Make sure y'all stay on point with
The Puncher's Point.
Well, the only thing I can say is we'll see. That's it. She's got one of the belts that I have never had, which is the WBA. And I want to take that home with me, so we'll see.
I got respect for Tasha, but it's a great fight. It's a great British fight, one of the best fights out there. And like I said, I believe in myself. I believe, I can become undisputed of that division.
What's up, y'all? December 14th in Liverpool, we have got a title doubleheader on Sky Sports in the female boxing welterweight division. We got, for the co-main event, Lauren Price versus Bexcy Mateus. And then for the main event, we got Natasha Jonas versus Ivana Habazin for a unification bout for the WBC and IBF championship. Now, obviously, we announced this a little bit earlier, maybe a couple months back, but now here we are. We're 4 days away from the fight, and it's time now we talk about it, really. Now, I do want to start off with the co-main event, and I do want to start off with Lauren Price. Now, here's what I've learned about Lauren Price. Lauren Price, let me tell you something about Lauren Price. She's got to be one of the slickest women's boxers out there. I mean, the girl's 7-0. She only has one knockout, but regardless of that, I mean, she is super slick. And the one thing I noticed about Lauren Price that I'm really impressed with is Lauren Price, when she throws combos and counters, she throws them in flurries. She's not throwing them one at a time, two at a time. A really good example of what Lauren Price looks like at her best is go back and watch the Jessica McCaskill fight. Jessica McCaskill, don't get me wrong, she didn't come in there with the right game plan or anything like that. She looked pretty sloppy. However, Lauren Price still has to take advantage of those moments, and that's exactly what she did. What I liked about Lauren Price in that fight is another weakness, strength of hers is she's able to kind of cut angles. If she's able to throw those punches and flurries and cut that angle on her opponent, and her opponent goes to swing and they miss because she's no longer there. She's also very good at circling around the ring. She's very good at circling around her opponent, and for her, I mean, that's just a testament to her gas tank and how she's just able to move. And the thing is, too, about Lauren Price has not been tested in these 7 fights that she's been in. She fought Jessica McCaskill, who is a former world champion, fought a champion in Jessica McCaskill, and she beat her. So when you really look at Lauren Price, even though she doesn't have the knockout power, and let's be real, like this is no slate to women's boxing, but a lot of women fighters do not have knockout power, or they don't get a lot of knockouts. A lot of them are boxers, and they're very pure boxers at that. But with Lauren Price, I mean, she's as slick as they come, and she doesn't get in trouble a lot. I mean, I have really not seen Lauren Price get hit with anything crazy, you know? So Lauren Price, she's a beast, honestly. She can, all she's gonna do is just outbox you for 10 rounds, and there's not a thing you can do about it. Now, as far as some of the weaknesses with Lauren Price, I'm gonna be honest, there really isn't many. The only thing I can look at that I could say somebody could get her with is she kind of leaves the left side of her stance down a lot. And I mean, I could see somebody hitting her with a counter hook, but they really got to clip her with that counter hook to knock her down. Um, what I like about Lauren Price as well, and this might be the most important thing, is how composed she is. I mean, I've seen women fighters charge at her, pressure her, and I mean, she's just always stayed composed. She was always able to get the best shots in between those types of exchanges. And I've seen times where she was the aggressor and she never got overzealous, she never got careless, and she was just able to outbox her opponents. So that would be my strengths for Lauren Price. Now, as far as the strengths and the weaknesses for Bexcy Mateus. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen much film from Bexcy Mateus. I mean, there's a couple YouTube videos out there, but other than that, I haven't really seen anything from her. I will say this, Bexcy Mateus relies a lot on her power. And when she becomes the aggressor, she could become a very, very dangerous opponent. And she knows how to clip her opponents as well. She knows how to find that chin. I'll say that right now. However, the thing I noticed about Mateus as well is Mateus, she's not as slick as Lauren Price. She's not as quick as Lauren Price. And I've also seen in those highlights where the other fighter was getting the advantage on her until that power kicked in. But here's the thing, when you have a power puncher who is 7-0 with 6 knockouts, especially in women's boxing, you got to watch out for those power punches. And I feel like in this fight, Lauren Price is going to have to be very, very wary because I'm going to be honest, Mateus does have power. Now, in one of the clips, it didn't even look like she really knocked her down or got her in like too much trouble to where they could call it a knockdown or a knockout, but they did. But regardless, Mateus, what's going to happen with Mateus is going to find your chin. Regardless, that's what she's aiming. She's aiming for that knockout, and she's going for that knockout. She's looking to be the aggressor in every single fight that she's in. And I feel like with Lauren Price, it's going to be a very, very interesting matchup because Bexcy Mateus is going to go in there and she's going to become the aggressor. But like I said, there has been many, many times where Lauren Price has basically been able to counterpunch pressure fighters, has been able to box circles around pressure fighters. Now, the question I have for Lauren Price is she's never been in the ring with somebody with power like Bexcy Mateus. And Bexcy Mateus has not been in the ring with somebody as slick as Lauren Price. So that's going to be the question right there. This is a true testament of speed versus power. Which one's going to come out on top? Because Lauren Price has not been tested yet. So if that power from Mateus is a problem from Lauren Price, we might end up seeing some weaknesses and some holes in Lauren Price's game. However, if Lauren Price is able to outbox her the way she has outboxed every single opponent she has faced, then, I mean, Lauren Price is going to be on the come up. Now, as far as that fight, not many people know who Mateus is. And, I mean, when we look up the odds, honestly, I'm going to try to look up the odds right now. But I don't think we're going to really find any odds for these two. I could be wrong, but I don't think we're going to find many odds. So let's take a look at this real quick. So as of right now, Price will be a minus 5,000 betting favorite, while Mateus is going to be a plus 1,200 underdog. Now, here's the thing, okay? Usually, I always make a prediction, but sometimes I always say sometimes it's good to kind of get off the prediction. I ask, and a lot of people will ask, well, even though it's a risk, is it a good risk to take a bet? So in this case, because we don't know too much about Mateus, is this the type of bet that we're willing to put in some money and win a payout? And I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. If so, then I mean, like, the most I would put in is probably like $20, honestly, because Lauren Price, I do feel like is going to win this fight. I'm going to say that right now. And if you ask me what's my prediction for that fight, I am going to say Lauren Price by unanimous decision. She's going to outbox her for 10 rounds. And I think maybe Bexcy might win 2 rounds max out of those 10. But that's only because Bexcy hasn't fought somebody as high caliber as Lauren Price. And Lauren Price, I have a feel like from what I've saw, she's fought Jessica McCaskill, she's fought Sylvia Bortat. And even though those two fighters, they might not be like Clarissa Shields or Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, Baumgartner, you know, we can go Michaela Mayer, we can go down and down the list. Natasha Jonas, who, by the way, if she wins this fight against Bexcy, she will end up fighting Natasha Jonas if Natasha Jonas wins her fight, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I have seen Lauren Price go up against fighters who are at a decent level in boxing, especially in women's boxing. I've seen her go up against champions and former world champions, and I've seen how she is able to keep herself composed. And that composure, I believe, is what's going to win Lauren Price this fight. Is she's going to be very composed. She's going to go in there. She's not going to panic. She's not going to let Bexcy pressure her. And I believe she's going to basically cruise out of that fight with a unanimous decision win. However, don't be surprised if Bexcy might start opening up some holes and start opening up those holes in Lauren Price's game. Because I'm gonna be honest, if you want me to be fully honest with you, we haven't seen those holes from Lauren Price. I mean, she put up a straight masterclass against Jessica McCaskill, a masterclass against Sylvia Bortat. Those were her 2 toughest opponents to date. So we haven't seen any of those holes open up. But no fighter is perfect, and I mean, Bexcy has a good chance to kind of expose some of those holes. But to say Bexcy is going to win this fight, honestly, I wouldn't put a bet on this fight because because Lauren Price is such a heavy favorite. I don't think you would get that big of a payout anyway. But if you're looking to bet, then I would say if you're looking to do a bet, if you want a risky bet, I would say put maybe $10 on Bexcy and see what happens, because you never know. Upsets happen all the time. I mean, Bexcy is undefeated. She is 7-0 with 6 knockouts. So she is a dangerous opponent for Lauren Price, but I've seen Lauren Price just outclass all her opponents, so I don't think it's going to be any different. Now, with that being said, that fight will be for the IBO championship. This one is going to be for the IBF and the WBC championship. Natasha Jonas versus Ivana Habazin. Now, let's get to Natasha Jonas, okay? Natasha Jonas, let me tell you something about Natasha Jonas. Natasha Jonas, as I was looking at her film, and I was looking at some of the highlights and the fights and all that, what I noticed about Natasha Jonas is she's got a very, very good left hook. She's got a very, very good left hand. That left hand, when that comes in, that is a perfect, beautiful counter for Natasha Jonas. She's got KO power. I mean, 15 wins, 9 knockouts. Now, I saw one of her knockout reels, and it was from a couple years ago, and a lot of people were saying that some of these knockouts shouldn't have counted. They were fishy, they were strange, all that type of stuff. And I agree, some of those knockouts didn't look like knockouts. However, to say that Natasha Jonas is not one of the most dangerous punchers in women's boxing, I mean, that's crazy not to say. I mean, not many fighters have over a 50% KO rate in women's boxing. Another thing about Natasha Jonas, very, very good counterpuncher. And let me tell you something, that right hook counter, I mean, that has rocked a lot of opponents. That has clipped a lot of opponents and has hurt a lot of opponents as well. So that right hook is definitely going to be something that Natasha Jonas is going to have to look out for. She's got very, very good footwork. Natasha Jonas is never stationary. She's never flat-footed. She's always on her toes. She's always constantly circling, cutting around. She's always kind of trying to stay out of harm's way. She can scrap with the best of them. I've seen times where she was on the inside with great fighters like Michaela Mayer, Katie Taylor, Terry Harper, and she's held her own against all of those fighters. So, I mean, scrapping on the inside with Natasha Jonas, it's a risk, but overall, it could possibly work out in her opponent's favor, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But on the inside, I mean, she is a very, very good fighter. And last but not least, consistent body punch. What I liked about her in the Michaela Mayer fight was when she was fighting Michaela Mayer, she targeted that body consistently from round 1 to round 10. And you could tell that it was kind of taking a wear and a tear on Michaela Mayer. I mean, obviously she didn't dominate Michaela Mayer, but you could tell those body shots were definitely landing her points, and you could tell that they were definitely helping her out in the later rounds. Now, as far as some of the weaknesses with Natasha Jonas, pressure fighters tend to back her up. There were moments where Michaela Mayer backed her up and put her on those ropes. There were moments where Katie Taylor put her on those ropes. There were moments where Terry Harper put her on those ropes. So she's been in there with the best of them. She was able to hold her own. She was able to, scrap with them all. But when she gets pressure and she gets backed up against those ropes, that is when momentum starts to shift in her opponent's favor. Another thing about Natasha Jonas is it always seems like opponents tend to land on her on the inside. That's the best chance you're going to have to land on Natasha Jonas. And this is what I was getting back to with her strength. She's very good on the inside, but sometimes she gets overzealous. Sometimes she gets careless, and sometimes that leads to her getting clipped on the inside. And I've seen it. It's not, and I will say this. She's been knocked out one time, and ever since that one time, she polished her skill. She's a very, very good fundamental fighter. She's a very polished fighter. She's got a very, very good pure boxing stance. So overall, I mean, Natasha Jonas fundamentally is a very, very good fighter. Now about that knockout loss, you might be asking, well, when did this happen? This happened in 2016, and she was fighting a girl named Vivian. I forgot her last name, excuse me. But Vivian knocked her down 4 times and dominated her that fight. And what happened was, what I noticed about Vivian, this is her last weakness, Natasha Jonas doesn't like being rushed. Vivian gave her no room to breathe. She didn't allow her to think about what she was going to do next. She gave her no room to breathe and just rushed in and attacked her. And Natasha Jonas, she wasn't composed. She got flustered. And after that, Natasha Jonas was getting backed up. She was getting knocked down constantly, losing balance, all of that. And that's because Vivian did not give her room to breathe. And I feel like that is probably the most important key to beating Natasha Jonas is don't give her room to breathe. Stay on her constantly. Now, the keys I would say for Natasha Jonas winning this fight, I would say if there were any keys, use your counter hooks, use your footwork, and take advantage on the inside. I feel like if you could do those 3 things, Natasha Jonas is going to have an easy win. She might win by knockout. But what does Ivana Habazin have to do to win if she has a chance of winning? What are her strengths and what are her weaknesses? And here's where we're going to get to next. Ivana Habazin, she has a very, very good, consistent jab. She's constantly using that jab. And like we said, the jab is the most important punch in boxing. I do want people to understand that. So she's got that going for her. She's really good at sneaking on the inside. She uses that jab and then she goes into the inside and she's able to do some work over there. She's very good. She has a decent right hook, and she's a very sneaky body puncher as well. Now, maybe not to the effect of Natasha Jonas as far as the right hook and the body punch. They do have similar skills, but just Habazin is not on the same level. Now, as far as the weaknesses for Habazin, well, the first weakness is this. She's always gone up against high-level competition. She just couldn't seem to get it done. and it's something very, very unfortunate because Habazin is a good fighter, but the problem is when she goes up against that big competition, she's not able to do what she's supposed to do. I mean, Terry Harper, Clarissa Shields, she just, she hasn't got that big win yet. But some of the real weaknesses for Ivana Habazin is inconsistent head movement. She has head movement, but she doesn't always use it. And when she does use it, sometimes she don't use it to good effect. Sometimes it just looks like she's just moving her head to move her head, and she's not really slipping or ducking or dodging any punches. Counter hooks lands on her, and that's one of the key strengths for Natasha Jonas. And last but not least, sometimes takes damage on the inside. I mean, both of these women are going to be on the inside. I think this is going to be a very, very exciting fight. But she really does take damage on the inside. And I think in this fight, I feel like if you're asking me, I really got to give Natasha Jonas the edge. Now, as far as the betting odds, they vary between DraftKings and MGM. MGM has Natasha Jonas, I believe, at plus minus 800 as a favorite, and then plus 500 for Habazin. And then DraftKings has it plus 600 for Habazin and minus 900, I believe, for Natasha Jonas. Now, what are some of the keys for Habazin to win this fight? Well, I mean, it's very simple. Habazin, the way she's going to win this fight, she's got to be relentless. Relentless pressure, that's how you're going to win this fight. You have to be relentless from round 1 to round 10. You have to constantly be in her face, and you have to constantly suffocate her. Use your hook on the inside. I feel like you could definitely have success if you use that hook to good effect on the inside. And last but not least, don't get careless, but don't hold back either. The last thing you want to do is kind of hold your punches, but you also don't want to get careless to when Natasha Jonas can knock you out. So basically, pressure her, get under the inside, don't give her a chance to breathe. And when Natasha Jonas tries to attack, you slip those punches, and then you go right back in. Now, as far as predictions, who do I have winning? Well, for the first fight, I got Lauren Price by unanimous decision. I think she's going to beat Bexcy Mateus. I think she's going to cruise to a unanimous decision. Like I said, I think Mateus is going to win 2 rounds at that, and then Lauren Price is going to cruise her way into a unanimous decision. As far as this fight, I got Natasha Jonas by 5th round knockout, or 5th round TKO, I should say. And y'all are asking, well, why do you think it's going to be the 5th round? Because I do believe that Natasha Jonas's pressure is going to be too much for Habazin. Habazin has been knocked down before. I mean, she's 23-5. She's fought the very, very best, but I do believe Natasha Jonas has the best chance of knocking her out of all the opponents she's faced, even Katie Taylor. So Natasha Jonas, I think her power is just going to be too much, and I think that she's going to get a nice TKO win over Ivana Habazin in the 5th round, and she's going to retain that belt. And then after this event is all over, we are going to see Lauren Price versus Natasha Jonas, and I think that's going to be a great fight. But with that being said, I would love to hear y'all predictions. Drop them down in the comments who you got winning, overall, how you feel about this fight. I do want to let y'all know that this fight's going to be in Liverpool, so be aware of the time difference. December 14th, co-main event, Lauren Price versus Bexcy Mateus. And the main event is going to be Natasha Jonas versus Ivana Habazin. And you might be asking, well, why am I going to tune into that fight? It's not Katie Taylor. It's not Clarissa Shields. It's not Amanda Serrano. It's not any of those big names. And the reason why you need to tune into this fight is because these are champions in one of the most entertaining divisions in women's boxing. And the reason why you need to tune into this fight is because after this fight is where all the women's fighting aftermath is going to happen. So overall, I do believe that both of these fights are going to be very, very entertaining. And I think they're going to be very, very important for women's boxing. But you know what? If you don't care about women's boxing, if you don't think that's important enough, then don't tune in. But I'm telling you this right now, if you love boxing itself, then you need to tune into this fight. You need to tune into both of these fights. So make sure y'all tune in. And with that being said, make sure y'all follow us on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, X, Reddit, Discord, whatever you're thinking, make sure y'all tune in. Also, tune into the podcast as well. I mean, we're on all podcast platforms. We're on YouTube. Make sure y'all be staying in touch with the content. Make sure y'all continue to be interactive with the Puncher's Point. And last but not least, make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point. What's up, y'all? If y'all love this episode, make sure y'all subscribe. You hit that notifications button, and also take a look at the recent episodes that we made before this. Make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point.